Hello everyone, how's it going today? This is Daniel Pendergraft, also known as DPend, and I wanted to address a topic that I think is very vital to thrive within modern life, however not talked about too often. And that's the subject of allowing the mind an adequate rest from thinkingness or from intellectual dissection of things and analysis. So, a common metaphor that has been applied to this in talking about this subject would be that of working out your muscles and then allowing a rest to come in. That if you're always constantly tearing the muscle fibers down, they don't actually have the opportunity to recover and become stronger than they were before. Now, the mind is a sort of muscle, and we can tell when we're exerting it quite heavily, and we can tell when it's more relaxed or latent. So it's important that we're aware of how we're using our mind and how much time we give it to recover. So, contrary to what a lot of people think, it is quite possible to take continuous action within the world without really thinking too much. And this is also the power of habit and the power of investing energy into cultivating skills. Because once they are very second nature to us, we don't really think too much at all. This is also where the often observed fact that just because someone is prodigious at a specific thing doesn't mean that they would make the best teacher or that they can explain with linear words how they achieve what they achieve. Because the truth is they're in more of a meditative flow state where they have mastered that craft and they're not really thinking too much because their experience is a grand synthesis of everything they've learned through so many experiences, and that's what you're seeing when you see a master at work. So, when you say letting the mind rest, there are so many different expressions of rest. But rest is essentially a receptive state. You could say more of a yin state, more surrendering, not striving. However, the interesting thing is that rest itself has a very yang or active effect on the organism because it allows balance to come in so that we can be more effective when we are engaged in more manic activity. So, under the umbrella of rest, obviously we have sleep, which is what most people think of. Sleep itself has a myriad of qualities that it can be. You can have very light, very non-restful sleep. You can have deep but non-restful sleep because it's clouded with a lot of astral activity or dream activity. You can have extraordinarily deep sleep, in which it's fully dreamless and more of a meditation. The fact is that what does occur within REM cycles and deep sleep, at least 90 minutes cycles, is definitely some sort of digestion of all of the mental and emotional data that we have received from our experience during waking life. Sleep is never to be downplayed, and it's one of the most productive things you can do. If you were to take only 3 hours of sleep and think that as compared to 8 or 10, that I have 5 to 7 more hours to do things, so I prefer to only sleep this amount. Those extra hours that you gain, you'll be operating at a lower efficiency typically. Although it is possible to develop oneself to where somewhat less sleep is needed, but to just be attentive to oneself and see when more sleep may be needed during periods of heavy activity or digestion of life experience is very good. So other types of rest are just reflection. This is kind of an intermediary step between the quotidian state of mind, the average state of mind, and a deeper meditation. It's kind of a middle ground where you are being quiescent, you're still thinking, you're thinking slowly and calmly, very deliberately, more so than everyday thought, which is often very uncontrolled and rapid. And going through what has occurred within one's life, within one's day, and discerning what has been the effect on one, what are next steps to take, these sort of things. Now, an interesting way of resting that I touched on already, which isn't thought of as rest, is actually taking flow state action. What that means is quite profound, that literally anything one does can be restful if it's in a state of flow, meaning that there's not really much dissection going on consciously, and that the two sides of the brain are working together well, that the consciousness is smooth and alert, but not on over alert like fight or flight mode, but it's parasympathetic, it's calm. That's an interesting way of resting that is very practical for everyone. So I would challenge you to see what progress you can make in attempting to achieve states of flow with whatever you do. And you'll be able to know that you're in that type of state when you realize, oh, I haven't been thinking much for the past 30 seconds or 1 minute. And you'll also know by the fact that you won't feel stressed, you'll feel very at ease and have a sense that whatever is occurring is automatically doing so as a consequence of the whole. And then we come to, obviously, meditation, or perhaps not, obviously. But a couple comments that I wanted to make about meditation that is very important is that it is not a religious practice primarily. It is not denominational in any way. I would consider it theologically or philosophically neutral, meaning that this is a technique that has been utilized within literally every world tradition and those that are traditionless, that is simply a tool to becoming aware of oneself and sinking further into oneself rather than skimming the surface of life and continually investing energy into outside things without recuperating, returning that energy back, and coming to a state of balance. And the end goal of meditation is to make one's entire existence into a state of meditative flow, in which the mind is able to perform without any interference or static, and no second guessing, no self-criticism really, but just continual adaptation, calm adaptation to the flow of life, in which one operates at a near optimal state. Another technique in this pursuit of letting the mind rest is within the same vein of awareness, being very honest with oneself about the effect of various activities, environments, individuals, groups on oneself, and coming to definite decisions as to what is most optimal for one in the moment. And obviously, this is an activity which is highly governed by surrender as well and asking for guidance. But it's a very powerful use of the mind to become aware of itself and to begin to come into a form of not so much control, but command of the mind and self. Another point I'd like to make is that mental hygiene and organization are important. So often within the course of the day, there are so many activities going on, so many things from the previous day, from the previous years or decades that have not been completely processed. Many things are lingering, then constantly new things are coming open, and it's common that most thought processes do not complete, but we continually get interrupted. So there grows this anxiety or fear and worry, stress about modern life because too many things are coming on our to-do list and not all of them are getting crossed off. Maybe more are always being added more than are being crossed off. That is also part of the beautiful adventure of being alive, because there are endless possibilities for what we can experience here. So it is important that we begin to cultivate a command of what we intend to entertain in terms of thought streams and what we intend to discard or let fall away. So thoughts themselves are impersonal and they do not define us. However, the thoughts that we choose to magnify and amplify do begin to define us. So that it is unnecessary guilt comes into the picture when one has a thought, but that one stays on the journey of the conscious choosing of which thoughts do begin to express our real self. And that is a choice that we have and are continually making. So it's enough to start with at least the intention to let go of worrying thoughts, let go of fearful thoughts, and most importantly, letting go of strands of thoughts that are wholly unproductive and really unconstructive, so that we focus on what is termed positive in the sense of building something. Another technique I had noted down was to see how you can perhaps outsource some of your mental strain and energy. Most people are already doing this that live with a significant other or a family or have a community in which we are capable of lessening each other's burdens if we will intend to be of service to each other, and we're actively looking for ways that we can be helpful to others, and then ways that we can let others help us. So by leveraging our strengths, we can begin to outsource some of our mental strain. And of course, this also marries very well with the idea of being discerning of one's companions and noting their effect on you and really blessing people and letting them go on their way, but not allowing ourselves to remain in a situation which is ultimately hampering the growth of ourselves as a human being. So, lastly, I just want to end this casual discussion here today with the fact that rest is never a waste of time. It is one of the most productive things that you can do, and it is a potential gateway towards the unlocking of the vast potential that we all have. And I truly hope that you glean something from this exploration today. And I would love to hear from you in the comments below. How do you feel when you allow your mind adequate rest versus how do you feel when you perhaps forget to restore and rejuvenate mentally? And also, guys, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you like this video, hit the like button, and you can also turn the bells to all notifications, and then you'll be aware of everything that we're doing here on the channel. I really want to say thank you so much to all the new friends that I've made. Thank you so much for supporting me, and it really means a lot, and I've just had a really fun time connecting with everyone. And please stay safe, be well, and let yourself rest. I'll see you later.